Jennifer here. Today we are cracking the code by having another Q&A session. So today I'm going to answer some questions that came to me about all of the diet modifications that we've been talking about and covering over the last 3 or 4 videos. So these are questions that I hope will be helpful for you caregivers at home. The first question was, can my loved one be on a regular diet but still need modifications for certain foods? The answer, yes, absolutely they can. I talk about bread being the choking culprit, but that isn't really the only food that can be difficult to swallow. No matter your age, you may find that certain foods are just too difficult to eat. Sometimes steaks are too tough to chew if they're not cooked well. Beef jerky or nuts, sometimes people just, they don't deal well with certain foods. So that's going to carry over as your loved one gets older. So it's not that they are on a regular diet and everything is available to them. While it may be, you still may have to limit or provide different types of foods, just depending on what your loved one finds easy to eat. If certain foods are hard, avoid them, take them out of the diet. And this is really something too that's going to depend a lot on your loved one's cognitive level. All right, so if they can tell you what type of foods are difficult for them to eat or foods that they don't want to eat, then that's pretty easy. You just stop serving those foods. The difficult part comes if your loved one has dementia, Alzheimer's, something that makes them unable to talk to you about the things that they're having trouble with. And that's when you're going to have to come in and be really responsive at meal times. You're going to want to watch them closely. Look for signs like, man, that food's really taking them a long time to chew. Or I notice after they eat this food, they make a face. They act like something's not quite right. Or listen for coughing and choking, those things. And if they're happening on certain specific foods, and just those certain specific foods, then leave those specific foods out. Now, if it's happening on everything, that's when you got to go back and you've got to talk to your doctor about swallow issues, because then it may be that we have to change the diet completely. But to answer the question in simple terms, can my loved one need modifications to a regular diet? Absolutely. Just find out what it is and make those changes at home. The next question is a really good question, and it's, can I use baby foods if my loved one needs pureed food? Yes and no. So know that baby food almost seems like a no answer, right? Because it seems like a no-brainer because, well, the work has already been done for you. But understand that it's called baby food for a reason. It's going to be for babies. They don't call it senior food or elderly food. Baby food is going to be made with a baby's nutrition in mind. If you've ever tasted it, you know that it's usually pretty bland. They're not going to have a lot of spices in it. So also knowing that baby food is going to tend to be lighter on calories, since babies are going to require a lot less calories than adults. So if you just provide baby food to your loved one, you're likely going to leave them calorie and nutrient deficient. But I say yes because it's going to be okay at times to add baby food to maybe what you're already preparing. This can certainly add some extra flavor sometimes, and it may even provide some sweetness to certain recipes that you're looking for. You might even use them to help thicken up a runny recipe. So if you are pureeing a meat texture and you find that it's really quite thin, then maybe using a pureed meat from the store, a pureed baby food, can help thicken it up just a little bit. Now, I will also say that if you're ever in a pinch and your loved one's hungry and they enjoy the taste of some canned baby foods, then by all means give it to them. It's going to be much better that you go down that route than trying to give them something that they're gonna have to chew because you're out of time or you're out of options. So you just wanna make sure that you just don't rely on them as a whole. Use them when you need to, but prepare foods like you would for you and me, and then follow recipes to get them down to a safe puree texture. Okay, the last question. What can I do if my loved one doesn't eat as much because they're now on a modified diet? And this is a really, really good question, and it's kind of a tough question to answer, because I feel like sometimes caregivers decide that they're going to just forego the modified diet because they're going to eat better with foods that are more regular. And while this may be true, if we're going for safety, then it's going to be really important that the diet that's recommended is one that's being adhered to. So one of the best things that you can do is adding protein supplements. So if you can buy flavorless protein powder, and you can add that in. You can mix it into certain foods. You can also use things like Greek yogurt in recipes. Things that are high in calories and things that have really a lot of nutrients in them are going to help, so that if your loved one isn't eating quite as much, they're still getting nutritional value. You can also add things like Boost, Ensure, a Glucerna if they're diabetic. You can add these either with a meal or even between meals, these supplemental drinks, because they're also usually high in calories, and they're going to have, a lot more of the nutrients that you're looking for that maybe they're not getting from the food. So another thing to consider too, especially if your loved one needs maybe more modifications like the minced and moist or the pureed foods, sitting down to a big meal that contains these type of foods may be difficult for them. So you can also do smaller meals and then do more frequent snacks during the day. So give a cup of applesauce or a cup of mashed potatoes between meals, and don't sit your loved one down to have this huge plate of food all at once. Smaller meals more often during the day is going to keep their blood sugar better regulated, but it's also, you'll find that they're going to eat more because it doesn't seem so overwhelming if you're just sitting them down for meals. One last thing I want to mention too, with any type of pureed foods, when you sit down with your loved one at a meal and you have, this nice chicken breast and potatoes and vegetables, and your loved one's having to sit down to maybe what looks to them like baby food, then you're going to find that there's some pushback, there's some resistance, and they may wonder why they can't have what you're eating. So if at all possible and when possible, try to make meals sometimes that you can enjoy together, no matter what the texture is that they need. So if they're on a minced and moist diet, find recipes that call for ground meat, find casseroles, find crock pot meals that are soft and easy to chew, and ones that you can enjoy together. If your loved one is on a puree diet, then find smooth soups, tomato. I just, in fact, made a butternut squash soup the other day, and it was really good. It was pureed. So when you can sit down together and enjoy the same meal, that's also going to help encourage them to eat a little bit more. That does it for the Q&A session this time. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and I will see you next time. Good luck cracking the code.